Hi guys, hello boys and girls, and hello my dear fellow foreign English speakers. It's Robbie here from EnglishHarmony.com, and welcome back to my video blog. Today, let's look at the following phenomenon that a lot of foreign English speakers face, me included. I'm no exception. Sometimes I also have this type of issue. Namely, we create all these fluency issues for ourselves, right? But the funny thing is, well, there's not really anything funny about it, but the fact of the matter is that we create these issues ourselves and we're not even aware of that. Okay, so here's exactly what I mean, right? And I have a list here, and this is a very valid point. If you have some sort of a speech to prepare or something like that, you may as well create a small little plan. A few bullets will do, because especially if you prepare for some event, whenever you have to give a speech or something, company meeting, job interview, typically, right? Almost all people fail to prepare. They come into that event unprepared, and then they might draw a blank, and then they complain about their inability to speak in English. Whereas the actual problem is that they fail to prepare. There's a saying, as a matter of fact, by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. So I do my preparations, right? And little post-it notes like these, where I put down the main points I have to make during the video, right? And it works wonders. If you forget something that you wanted to say, you just have a quick peek into your little sleep, and you will just refresh your memory, and you'll be right on track, so to speak, okay? Anyhow, the first thing that I have to mention is that there is this notion out there among us foreigners that we have to speak very well. We have to speak using proper grammar. We have to speak perfectly. And that we can't lower the standards, basically. Okay? And also there's this notion that we can't use simple language. We kind of try to match the way we write with the way we speak. But the fact of the matter is that you can't really speak the way you write. When you write, it's a whole different process. Whereas when you speak, it's all instantaneous. You have to be able to produce all these words and sentences and phrases instantaneously. You don't have much time to think. And even native speakers don't speak the same way they write. What might be a bit confusing to you guys is that I've oftentimes mentioned on my blog that you have to write the way you speak, and that's fine. That's the way I write, okay? Because there's this notion, again, among native English speakers that when you write, that you have to write at an academic level. You have to write like an accomplished author almost, you know? But in reality, a lot of people struggle to write anything, and that's why so many people are struggling in school with their writing, because they think that writing is something out of ordinary, something special. Whereas in reality, you just have to imagine that you're speaking. Obviously, I'm not talking about speaking in a very, very conversational manner, using a lot of slang, even though in certain occasions that's acceptable, right? But what I have in mind when I say that is that you have to write in an easy to understand way. So what might be confusing is that when I say you have to write the way you speak, some of you might be thinking that I also advocate for speaking the way you write. But it doesn't work both ways. When you try and speak the way you write, you kind of have this imaginary sheet of paper in front of your eyes, and then you're trying to write in your head and speak at the same time. But obviously the two processes clash with each other, because when you're trying to form a sentence as if you're writing it, you can't speak it out normally. You keep hesitating, get stuck for words. You have different versions of the same thing to say, clashing with each other, and that's a typical manifestation of these fluency issues. And in relation to this, I want to mention two links. The first one is lower your standards if you want to improve your English successfully. And I created this blog post. You may want to click on this link right here in the video. It's going to take you to the respective page on my blog, right? And I created this video as a response to somebody's question who asked me well, they didn't ask me anything. They just stated their problem, that they've been learning English their entire lives, but they still can't speak with the same intricate, sophisticated manner as a lot of native English speakers can. And the answer to that is just lower your standards. You have to accept that you will probably never sound like an, I don't know, some native-born, academically tutored intellectual, you know. I don't sound like one, and I never will. But it doesn't matter. Why would you have these super high standards? Lower the bar. Accept the fact that when you speak, it's okay to sound simple, right? And the second link I want you to check out is that it's fine to speak in short sentences. And this is a very, very valid point. Click on the link right here, and there's a video as well. And basically, it's all about the fact that when you speak, even native speakers, like everyone does that, nobody is capable of speaking in long, very well-crafted sentences, right? It just doesn't happen like that. So when we try to do that, when we try and speak as if we're writing something, we create all these fluency issues for ourselves. If we didn't have all these standards, if we didn't try and speak in very, very long, well-crafted, grammatically super correct sentences, if we didn't have that stupid concept in our minds, half of us probably wouldn't be having these stupid fluency issues in the first place, if you know what I mean, right? It makes an awful lot of sense, doesn't it? So please, if you haven't been heeding to this advice so far, please start doing that. First of all, accept the fact that speaking in short bursts, in short sentences, couple of words at a time, is totally normal. Everyone does that. It's natural. And especially if you speak in a stressful environment, that's the only way to go. That's the only way you can actually get the message across. There's no need to try to say the whole thing out at once. And then you eventually dig yourself in a hole, which means that you create the problem for yourself. You start saying something, and it's hard for your mind to keep track of how the sentence started initially. So it might be 10 or 15 seconds ago that the sentence started, and then you lose your train of thoughts. Whereas if you just say out loud whatever comes to your mind in short bursts, in a few word sentences, it's much easier for your brain to handle that, you know? So that's very important to bear in mind. Another thing that makes us to create those fluency issues for ourselves is our fast speech that I've touched upon in a number of videos, but it never hurts to repeat it, because a lot of you guys really don't get the message when I say it just once or twice, so I need to bombard you with all these things so that it hammers home, basically. And in relation to this, I want you to read this article, that it's super important for English fluency to slow down your speech. Click on this link right here. It's going to take you to my blog where you'll read that article, and it's very, very useful. Its usefulness cannot be overrated, guys. You have to slow down if you are rushing yourself, but this is what 90% of foreigners do. And I have to admit that I'm still guilty of the same, but it's just that, just like I said in the beginning of this video, I'm acutely aware of all these things. So whenever I catch myself doing that, it just takes me a few moments to rectify that problem. So I slow my speech down, and I use a lot of different strategies that I've come up over the years, and I keep my fluency in check. Okay, so just like I said, its importance can't be overrated. Slow down when you feel that you're trying to speak too fast. And it's another one of those factors that makes us create the fluency issue for ourselves. We speak too fast, we're trying to use perfect sentences, and it's no wonder we can't speak. It's no wonder we constantly keep getting stuck for words, because we're trying to perform at a level we can't possibly perform, okay? It's the same way as if I were to walk into the gym and try to bench press 100 kilos. I just can't possibly do that, okay? So it's the same thing. You're trying to speak the way you can't, so you have to speak the way you can. It's simple. It's obvious to me, but it's not obvious to a lot of you guys. So please try and start understanding the nature of this issue and the fact that you are probably 5 times out of 10 you are creating these fluency issues for yourselves, unbeknownst to yourselves. But once you're aware of that, that's when you can start working on it. Okay, and the last thing I want you to read is this article about reverse psychology, right? Click on this link right here, and basically it's all about the fact that when we speak, sometimes we try and say the thing that we want to say in the best way possible. Okay, so there's 2 or 3 different ways of saying this or that particular thing, which is completely normal. There's so many ways you can express the same concept. Okay, and then sometimes all these different versions of the same thing might be clashing in our heads, and we have a hard time choosing which one is the right one. Okay, so if you heed to the advice expressed in the article about the reverse psychology and how it can be applied when you improve your spoken English, you will realize that all these issues will go away over time. Obviously, it's not going to happen instantly. It's hard work. You got to be practicing and working hard on your fluency. It takes time, but this is a very effective fluency management technique. And the way it happens is when you just try and say the first thing that comes to your mind without much thinking. More often than not, the thing that you say is going to be 100% acceptable. It's going to be correct. Okay? Whereas if you think too much and you're trying to say whatever you're trying to say in the best way possible, the chances of you making a mistake are actually much higher than if you just said something without much thinking. Okay, it's almost as if you're trying to make a mistake, as if when you're trying to force yourself to make that mistake, it acts the other way, and the chances of you making a mistake are much smaller than when you didn't want to make that mistake. If that makes any sense, right? But please read that article, and everything is going to become clear to you. So yeah, that's about it for today's video, guys. Just let me tell you once more that on a lot of occasions we make ourselves make all these mistakes. We create these fluency issues. So if we know the right strategies, we can keep the fluency in check. And just like I said, it's no easy task. It's easier said than done, but it can be achieved. The fluency that you dream of can be acquired. Look at me. Look at the way I speak. I was struggling big time for years, and I thought that I would never be able to speak like that, like this, the way I speak now. But I'm quite satisfied with my level of fluency, and it's all thanks to these fluency management techniques and strategies. Okay, guys? So if you have any further questions, any comments, please post them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching this video, and chat to you soon. Bye-bye.